Welcome to the Fifth Quarter Podcast with Keff Chardell and Mike Arakbo over here. We're here again. We're back at Bobcat Stadium for episode 3. We got SHN Sports back there producing it. Carl's back there hooking us up once again.
My man Carl.
Give them a good follow at SHN Sports on Twitter. Make sure you're following us too at the Fifth Quarter Pod _ on Twitter and the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Is there podcast in the end on the Instagram?
I believe so.
I don't get on Instagram enough. I really should. I should post.
Just put in Fifth Quarter and then it should pop up somewhere.
It'll pop up. Find us on iTunes, all over. You guys, if you're here, you probably know how to find us. But tell your friends, please. We need all the help we can get. Very special day for us here. We're gonna have a great guest on later. Jake Spavital, head coach of the Texas State Bobcats, will be here. I'm ready to talk about it. I know Rak is.
Oh man, I'm excited. Finally, we got the big boss on the pod.
We're starting.
Man, we've set the bar, this high. So I mean, it's gonna be hard to top that after this one.
Well, before we get to Spav, we got to talk about the Aggies. Unfortunately, Texas State and Texas A&M last week didn't go well for the Bobcats. 41-7 loss at Kyle Field. What was the negative that stood out to you? I know I should start positive, but I'm going to start negative. What didn't you like about Thursday night?
I mean, you gotta go with the quarterback play. I wasn't too excited about the quarterback play. I was looking for a more experienced Vit. It did kind of seem like, we got the guy that we saw last year a little bit. Seemed like he snuck back up on us this year again. And then Jensen kind of, surprised me as well because I was thinking he was going to come out and, be a little bit more efficient, being that he had his chance to, prove why he's the guy. And nope. None of the guys kind of separated themselves. They both came out. They both had two interceptions, and none of them kind of seemed to move the offense the way we want them to. So, yeah, that's kind of the negative. The big negative that I took out of that game was definitely our quarterback play.
The separation between the two, I think, is big for me too. And you go back to Vit, it's more of what we had last year. That tunnel vision, he gets so stuck and concentrated on one receiver that the DBs can just kind of sit back and pick on him a little bit. One thing I didn't like to deviate from the quarterback talk was the running game. Obviously, Coach Spav said that they had to axe it in the second quarter, playing from behind. You got to pass that ball, try and catch up. But I really, because I hyped it up a lot in fall camp. I was like, running backs are going to look good.
Yeah,
that's going to look good.
Guys. He hyped up the running game. Whoops. And I was like, oh, whoa.
I'm slowly getting exposed on this podcast. This might not be a good idea. Let's cancel it. No, but really, I thought I expected a lot more. And, the level of competition they were playing against with A&M, that D-line was pretty big.
It was a great D-line. It was a great D-line. And I was expecting, what I want to see is a running back that's going to emerge as the go-to guy. And I just haven't gotten that yet. I'm still waiting on the back that's going to be able to really go in there and hit the hole and be a little bit explosive, run the football, even just create creases where they can just hit the hole, hard. And I just haven't seen it yet. It's not that, we don't have it. It's just that I didn't see it. Anthony Taylor seemed like we chose to go with him initially coming into this A&M game. And, I was waiting on if he was going to emerge as the go-to guy in this Spavital team. And it's just haven't seen it yet, So it's something that I'm hoping that we can improve going into this game 2 against Wyoming.
Because even at the press conference we just came from, Spavital said it's going to be a running back by committee deal. He was non-committal on saying if Taylor would be the starter, if Taylor's still his guy. So I feel like that's telling in itself that he's willing to say that. Below Taylor is Twyford and Jalen Nelson. Nelson didn't have any carries. Can't remember how many Twyford had. It wasn't very many.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see those guys get another shot against Wyoming because I feel this offensive line isn't as bad as they looked. That starting unit is pretty good. Below it, there might be some depth issues, but I thought they're a pretty big offensive line. Would you agree with that? That starting unit's pretty good?
I would agree, and I love the fact that Coach Stitt came out and was trying to run the ball. You have to establish a running game, okay? And I think that we tried to do that against A&M, but it was a pretty big defensive lineman, and it was a great defensive line unit that we went up against. So I'm real eager to see how we're going to do against Wyoming, how this O-line would do against Wyoming, how his running backs would do against Wyoming, and of course who the quarterback is going to be and how he's going to start the game off for us.
Who would you go with if you were Coach Spavital? Who would you put at quarterback?
Man, I would have to go with Chris Jensen. Yeah, he would be my guy. I would let him know he's the guy. I'd stick him out there first, and then just give him the reins to show what he can do against this Wyoming team. Yep.
I'm there with you.
Yeah.
It's because a fall camp I was really high on Vitt. He was looking sharp. He really cut down the turnovers. Kept hearing about his leadership qualities, and I was like, you know what, this seems like the guy. I wanted to see him get a good shot, and he got that shot. It's like you said, it's a little bit of what we saw last year. So I think I'm with you there on Jensen this week. And it's not
that we're writing off Vitt. I'm not writing Vitt off. I want to see what Jensen has. We've seen Vitt. We saw Vitt last year. We saw him coming into, this game as starting the team off. Jensen kind of got in there when the game was already, getting out of hand. And, yes, he threw his interceptions, but he did move the ball. He moved the ball, and, he showed a little bit of promise. My biggest thing with Vitt that I would like to see is I want to see a quarterback who's okay with staying in the pocket with his chest out and really setting his feet and throwing the ball. It's something that I really put into quarterbacks, because that lets me know that you aren't afraid to get hit in the mouth. You're okay to stand in there and make those throws that you have to make. And I just didn't see that. So it's something that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and we talked about the run game. The run game will help that too. Help
Absolutely.
them be more confident in the pocket when you can freeze that defense because they're afraid of the run. Allows that quarterback to sit in there. So if they can get that run game going, a little more confident with this offense going into this week. Let's talk about things we like. I like the defense. I'm pretty sure you like the defense too. I liked what I saw. Talk about that front seven they got. Pretty nasty for the Bobcats.
Oh, it was nasty. It was nasty. Anytime you can go into an SEC team like A&M, nationally ranked team, and have that showing up front, because what did I tell you that A&M was going to try to do starting out? They were going to try to establish the run game. They tried to run the ball, and immediately they knew that it was not going to be that easy. So then they started to open up the offense more, because if I had to think about it, I would think that going into that game, they probably wanted to establish a run game, not show too much to their next opponent, Clemson. And if you notice how the game went, they started to open up the offense more because they couldn't quite dominate the run game the way they wanted to. And that's just because of that aggressive and very chippy. I love using that chippy word, talking about that Bobcat front seven.
It's interesting that you bring that up, that they started in the first quarter trying to run. That's something I didn't pick up on. That's where your defensive mind really comes into play there, I can tell.
Yeah.
Savion Patton got in there, the nose tackle got in there and it hit the quarterback, and so did Ishmael Davis, and I was like, okay, put Kellen Mond on his butt. That's what I like to see. Yeah. It's good, because imagine that in the Sun Belt.
Right.
That's what I kept thinking. With this defense, I'm like, did they give up 41? But there was 4 picks. There were some short-fielded punts. There were some extenuating circumstances that set the defense back, and they still played to the best of their ability. They played real tough, and I think that bodes real well. Ryan London didn't lead the team in tackles for the first time forever, but had that pick, that Odell Beckham pick, man, that was something else.
That was a spectacular play.
That was. So I was pretty happy with the defense, and I think going forward, we should see that pay dividends going into Sun Belt play and all of that.
Absolutely.
Today we have a guest, so what we're gonna jump into questions in the middle. A little bit of a different deal we got going on today. So let's get into the Ask Fifth Quarter questions. A lot of y'all responded. So
hashtag Ask Fifth Quarter.
Make sure you use the hashtag so we find it. Whenever I see, obviously, I just get on my phone. So I gotta find it. This one's from last week. This is from @JTXST, J Powell. Okay. This is one, he got it in right after we filmed, and I made sure to save it.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. It says, do you think the Sun Belt is the right conference for Texas State to be in right now? Besides winning, what does Texas State need to do to make itself attractive to other conferences? Do you want to jump in? You want me to go?
I'll let you go first.
I'll take it.
That's a great question, but I'll follow up.
And that's why I saved it.
I'll follow up.
That's why I saved it, because I thought about my answer too. Yeah. And it gets real simple. How many Sun Belt championships have the Bobcats won in football?
Zero.
None. So why would you think you're better than this conference? You can't. Until you start dominating and really playing well in this conference, I don't think you should try and want to jump to a bigger one. Yeah, sure, of course. I want Texas State in the Big 12. I want Texas State in a bigger conference. That would be great. But I also think there's still stuff to be done now where they're at in this conference. I think for right now, they're in the right conference. This school is big enough and this program can go places where they can eventually go on to a bigger one.
Yeah.
But I think right now, you got to win. You got to win here in this conference. So, and that's kind of the second question too, is what do they need? Wins. Asking what they needed to move up. Yes, wins. They got to win. It's simple as that. This is college football, and if you don't win, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And yes, I would absolutely love Texas State to be in a bigger conference, but not quite yet. Get a Sun Belt championship or two under your belt, then we'll talk.
Well, I have a different outlook. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the Sun Belt. I actually think the Sun Belt overall is a better conference than the conference I think that we should be in. I would want us to be in. Just me being selfish, and that's Conference USA because it's just more. It's more Texas teams. You know, anytime we play a Texas opponent, just because of the proximity, our fans are more knowledgeable of teams like North Texas and teams like UTEP and teams like Rice. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And which would bring more butts in the seat. I really do think it'll put more butts in the seat. So
get some Texas rivalries going.
Right, get some Texas rivalries going, which will answer his second question of what does we have to improve to get in. We have to improve attendance. You know, it's actually doesn't have much to do with wins. It has more to do with prestige and attendance, like value. What value can you bring? And just like if you look at some of the other teams that are moving up, it's not always because of how great their football team is. It's because of how good their overall program and how, you know, their facilities, their attendance. You know, just like when they look at bowl games, it's just like, all right, it's not who's the best team, it's which team is going to be able to bring the most people to our bowl game. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at what we can improve on as a program, that is having more support on game days. And that's what conferences look at. When conferences look at this school, yes, they're going to look at the wins and losses, but they're also going to look at what is their attendance average at their football games. How many people are showing up to their basketball games on average? You know, how many people are showing up to their volleyball, just different programs around in the overall attendance. So I definitely think that, number one, me being selfish, I would love to see us in Conference USA or playing more Texas teams. And then number two, we have to improve attendance if we want to even talk anything about us going to another conference.
Solid points, because you're absolutely right about the Texas rivalries.
Yeah.
And I guess I read that and I was like, oh, that must mean up.
Yeah.
But there could be lateral too.
Yeah.
And so I could see that. Yeah. So I could agree with you there. I still feel like before we jump ship on the Sun Belt, gotta win it once or twice, or at least dominate a little bit more.
And I do, and to go back, I do still, even right now, I think the Sun Belt. Actually, the Sun Belt has been one of the better conferences as a whole. Sun Belt has been better than Conference USA for, the past, 4 or 5 years straight now. Yeah. So it's just, we're in we're in a good league. We're in a good league. You know, you look at Georgia State beating Tennessee. Those are happening every year now. It's you have App State and Georgia State and some of those new schools coming in, and they're competing. They're good, bringing good quality football teams.
Absolutely, some tough defense too. That's what really breeds in the summer. So I know you like that.
Yeah.
I know you like that tough defense. All right, here we go. Number 2 from @T_Vazzy. T. Vazzy, did y'all also hate the SEC commentators for the game yesterday? I get that they're there for A&M, but they could have at least talked about Texas State a little bit more. Will this change as the season progresses? I didn't see the broadcast, so I don't know, but I heard a lot of flack on Twitter about it. Did you hear him at all?
Yeah, I didn't. We went to the game. We watched the game live, and I haven't watched the replay.
The replay's up. I'm going to watch it today, though.
I think on ESPN Plus, is it?
Sure is. ESPN Plus. Go check that out. But yeah, so I haven't heard him, so I really couldn't say here or there, but I will say it'll absolutely change going forward, especially with the wonderful Brent Freeman out there calling the Bobcats.
That's always good.
That's a Texas State grad there. And Joplo Bar too is joining him too. I just remembered heard that. So there's that too.
Always good to have former players, you know.
I don't know about that. No, of course it is. Of course, it's very valuable.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it'll definitely get better. Hopefully that they're not too much of homers. I don't think they will be. Brant's a pro.
Yeah.
Brant's pro, and he'll be leading them. And so I think the broadcasting will absolutely get better as the season goes on. But let me get this next one going. From Roof Vader Vodkasberg at Gucci Handmade gave us a good question last week. Oh, really? It was the betting slip. That's what they gave us that last time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, you're down 0-1. Hopefully your Bobcats will get you that 10 grand. Did it seem to anyone else that there was under the table agreement to just take the L? We were never going to line up and beat them with traditional football. Where was the gimmicks? Why punt in third? That was a paid warm-up for A&M. Right off the bat, I got to disagree with you there. I mean, no one goes into a game, no coach, no team goes in there like, hey, let's just go ahead and take this loss and collect our money. I mean, you saw Georgia State over Tennessee. They got $950K for that funny tweet yesterday you had on there. So, no, man, I don't think it was an agreed upon predetermined loss.
I don't even think I need to answer that one.
We're dismissing you. Come back next week with a better one, Roof. Still the man with that Gucci Handmade logo. Here we go. This is from Paul M. Lopez. Paul_M_Lopez. In your opinion, did the offense struggle as a result of the opponent or poor execution? Maybe both. Do you expect to see Dylan Jantz this year? Seems like he would be a good weapon to add. I'm going to say both on that. You know, it's a little bit of both there. The opponent is tough, but there were also some mental mistakes. And, you know, and Spavital even admitted so, that there were some times that these quarterbacks were a little jittery and they threw some bad throws. But you also can't discount the level of competition. Number 11, Texas A&M at Kyle Field, 98,016 people screaming at you. I mean, that's got to affect you. Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's both? Or
I think it depends on what unit you're talking about. Okay, if you're talking about the run game, I think
it's quarterbacks.
The verdict is out.
Offense. You're right.
Yeah, offense.
Right.
So if you're talking about the run game, the verdict is still out because we don't know how well our offensive line is. We don't know how well our running backs actually can run the ball until we see them in a opponent like going into this Wyoming game. We're going to get a little better picture, in terms of the run game. We talk about quarterbacks. I really don't think there's anything that A&M necessarily did to make us, not be able to complete some of the throws that we were, like the interceptions. It wasn't any crazy play that A&M made to make us make those kind of turnovers, cost us kind of turnovers by both quarterbacks. So I would say those were mental mistakes on us that we just have to improve on going into this next week. So like I said before, I would just like to see us kind of, stick it in there and complete some of those balls.
Yeah, and on Dylan Jantz, true freshman guy came in here, was pretty highly touted, recruited receiver. Yeah, he hasn't gotten broken into the rotation very much in practice. He's a talented guy. He's got a lot of speed, got good hands, but there's just some other guys blocking up that position right now. So I can even see Jantz getting a red shirt, barring some injuries that inserts him in there. But no, I don't. He'll be a good weapon down the road. But I just think at receiver, they're pretty deep, and they've kind of got what they can get from other guys that they could get from Jantz. So I don't expect them too much this year, but definitely he'll be a weapon down the road for sure. One of the better recruits they brought in. Here we go. Here's from our good friend ETX Bobcat. He sent us something last week. Spav has talked in the past about getting Greek life involved. Ooh, Spav talked about this today. This is good. Greek life involved in the game day experience. Has he made any sort of agreement with larger frats, sororities, clubs to give them more of an incentive to attend home games and stay till the end? You know what? He literally brought it up today. Unsolicited. We asked about the crowd, and he said, I've been going around to fraternities and sororities trying to get them to come to the game. So there you go, right there. He's already living up to that promise of get Greek life involved. Yeah. Because, Greek life, they have a lot of school pride. Say what you will about fraternities and sororities, a ton of school pride, and there's a ton of numbers that could put butts in the seats. So, it does seem he is doing that. He's well aware of that, aware of needing to bring people in. So, so that go ahead.
Yeah, and that's I think that's what is so different about Coach Spav. It's just like he's everywhere. I mean, I'm all over Austin, and I'm everywhere. So every time I meet people, and it's just like, oh yeah, I met Coach at this place, and I met Coach at that place, and it's just like, he is really getting that Bobcat brand out. He's showing up to frat houses. He's at this place, that place, and he's making sure people know about this Texas State football program. And I love it. I love it. I love the fact that he's talking to our fans. He's talking to alumni. He's really bringing that Bobcat pride back here, back home. So I do agree. I know for sure that he's been all over talking to fraternities and being involved in that Greek life. And I think that they're going to have a big showing coming for this first game. So hopefully we don't disappoint.
I mean, shoot, he's on the Fifth Quarter podcast today. He's everywhere.
Right.
And I mean, could you imagine getting other coaches to come on and do this? It would be hard. I mean, he didn't even have to think about it. We're like, you want to come on here and talk about the Bobcats? Like, yes. Yeah. He wants to put that brand out there, like you're saying, and get people hyped and excited about it. And that extends to the not just everywhere, but the schools, the fraternities and other clubs that are here, to get them involved and get them supporting the Texas State Bobcats. So I think he's doing a lot of great. He's doing the politicking side. He has got down to a T for
Absolutely.
sure. For sure. Let's see what else we got. This one is from. Thanks for all the questions, guys. Lots of good questions. This one is from Essay at Whistle Arnold. At Whistle Arnold. All right. What's your favorite uniform combo? Mine is the matte gold helmet with the oversized maroon Supercat logo, white tops, gold bottoms we did a few years ago. Why don't we wear gold helmets at all anymore? My favorite uniform. I love the Stormtrooper that they busted out for. I always like an all-white look.
Yeah.
I like an all-white or an all-black look. But I think if I have to pick a favorite, it's the throwback Southwest Texas State ones from last year.
They were clean.
Those are pretty sweet. I like that.
Those are clean.
And I understand. I talked to some marketing people, and they say that's a little bit of a marketing nightmare when you're trying to promote TXST, and then you put SWT on the helmet. You got to sell a whole bunch of other stuff. And I get that. But it just conjures up feelings of nostalgia, and those colors look cool. Yeah. I thought that was my favorite there. What's your favorite?
And then you bring the Southwest Texas alumni back.
Yeah.
You get them involved. Because this is something that has been new to me. When I got here, I don't understand it, because to me it's a name. It's like literally. If you're Southwest, listen, guys, if you're Southwest Texas, if you're Texas State University, we are the same people. I mean, the fact that we're still fighting with people, I mean, it's 2019, guys. It's 2019. If you went to Southwest Texas or you went to Texas State, you are a part of the same group. We are all alums. Like, give it a break, guys.
We're all Bobcats.
We're all Bobcats.
We're all
Bobcats.
Bobcats.
Give it a break, and come home. But I do like the fact that we do that alumni game. But I'm probably gonna have to go with the all black unis. Those are clean with the matte black helmet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the blackout with the maroon. Those are clean.
I do like the blackout. It's funny because besides the Southwest, it's either the all white or the all black.
Yeah,
it's just a clean look. It looks good. Oh yeah, and gold helmets. Why don't we have gold helmets anymore? That's a good question. A gold helmet, I'd be fine with a gold helmet. They kind of had those mustard-colored yellow. You remember those?
Yeah.
I thought I liked it till I saw them come out on the field, and I was like, no, They look like a mustard ball.
Yeah, I don't, guys. I know I might, ruffle some feathers on this one. But
ruffle. Sorry to Andrew Johnson Equipment. We love you. You do a great job.
You're doing a great job, man. I don't care for the gold. I don't know. It does have the classic look. It does give you that kind of classic Bobcat look. But sometimes it just, I don't know, the yellow looks a little mustard sometimes when we go with it. It's just like, I don't know. I love the maroon. I love the white. I love the black now. Then in terms of the helmets, do we even have the gold helmets anymore?
No, they used to do it back in the SWT days, and I feel like they've had a version of the gold helmet, but they really haven't. That's one thing that I hear often on Twitter. People say, why don't we have gold helmets? Why don't we have that? So maybe they should bring that back. I'd have to see a cool version of one though.
Yeah, I would probably have to see a cool version.
If it's like shiny gold, that's almost tacky. I don't know. It's just like when you can see a reflection in it.
I like that that straight on that maroon is just like a helmet, and then the white is always good, right? So it's just, we have some good helmet options, guys.
No
I mean, we got there's a lot of schools that only have 2. I mean, I think we have 4 or 5 different helmet options.
Something like
now.
that. I couldn't say.
So I mean, we have some great helmets. They're doing a great job in the equipment.
They definitely are, and the ones this year, they've got like an extra gold stripe on the maroon. I like that. It's like 3 stripes in the middle. I think the helmets look real, and there's outline on the Super Cat on the.
We've done a very good job with unis, and then the videos as well. Like them coming out with the video unveils, is
the reveals,
man.
Because people want it quick. They're like, "What uniform are they wearing? Give it to us quick." And they're like, "We got to film it and give it good production." I'm like, "I'll wait. Give me the good video. Give me the good content. I don't need to know on Tuesday. We can wait." Alex Canals, AL Canal 56 is his handle. How do you feel about the Bobcats after seeing the rest of the conference perform in week 1? I'm still confident. Defensively, we talked about that. A lot of it starts under center, and we keep beating a dead horse there with the quarterback talk, but it's true. I mean, that's the field general for the reason. There's only one of them on the field, so that position has to play well and not turn the ball over. But looking at him, that win for Georgia State, didn't see that coming. That was real impressive. A lot of people were expecting Georgia State, including myself, expecting Georgia State to have kind of a down year, and they still might. We don't know. It might just be one really good game, but that was impressive, and it goes back to what you were talking about with conferences, where this is a strong conference. This is a good conference, and they were competitive in that week 1, and it tells me the Bobcats need to straighten their shirt up.
Yeah. I didn't watch every single Sun Belt game, but I did check out the Georgia State game. I watched a little bit of Georgia Southern. I think those guys, and I watched the Arkansas State and SMU, a little bit of that game. So. It's going to be it's definitely going to be a tough conference. It's up in the air. I don't think there's going to be any clear front runners. I think the Sun Belt is a league that anybody can really win at any given year, because there's no gap from 1 to 2 to 3. You see what I'm saying? Because it's really a competitive conference. Texas State very well can get in conference this year and win the Sun Belt. I can confidently say that, because if you look at last year, a lot of those conference games, we were in it. We didn't quite win all of them, but we're in the game. And we bring a lot of that team back this year. So, and I'm not saying that's to be expectations just coming in as Spav year 1, but knowing the Sun Belt, every team for the most part is pretty competitive.
I would agree with you there. Yeah. And and you talked about, you watched the SMU Arkansas State game. Yeah. We did our maroon gold pick'ems, which this guy's leading it over here, 5-0. I'm 3-2, kind of bottom feeding over here. No, but I picked Arkansas State, and you picked SMU in that game. Yeah. I thought Arkansas State was going to hand it to SMU. Both of those are Texas State opponents this year, by the way. SMU too. Shane Bichelle looked good. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Seeing him go from Texas to SMU. Yeah. So it was kind of cool to see 2 Texas State opponents square off. I like that week 1 matchup. Yeah. But I think we got one more. And it's about, Sean Patrick Shelter. What's going on, man? At SP Shelter. How do you feel the Bobcats will do this year? 4-8 bowl game? How do you feel? I skipped one more. We got one more after this. Okay. I'm still at 5 wins in my book. That's kind of where I'm putting them. I wish I could say more and be more excited. I'm a little beaten down over the years, but I'm confident in where the direction the program is going. But I'm still at 5 wins for myself. Especially, we were talking about the last question, how good the conference is looking, and they looked really good this week. So, that's where I'm at. Where are you at there?
Well, that is a tough question, because we didn't get much out of it.
We didn't prepare this one.
We didn't prepare this one, so this is definitely a tough question. I'm gonna have to go with best case and worst case scenario. I think best case scenario for the Bobcats will probably have to be 5-7, just because we have a pretty tough out of conference schedule this year. We played A&M, we turn it back and play SMU, and it's tough. So if we were able to get one of these, and then we have Wyoming coming up this week. I mean, those are all tough opponents. If we're able to steal one out of those three guys, obviously A&M's down, so between SMU and Arkansas State, then we're looking more on the best case scenario side. On the worst case scenario side, we're looking around that 3-9, 4-8 kind of deal. I do think we're gonna get at least on the very bare minimum. I think this year we'll be able to get 3-4 wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's so early in the season to kind of project. Like we've only seen him one time against A&M, so it's hard to really get that feel. But I do feel like that this team is improving. We saw that it is improving. If they can figure out that quarterback position, then they can be real good. Yeah, we got one more here. Where were you, Anthony Taylor? Question. There we go. From Terry Lice. How's it going? He asked one last week, too.
Terry Lice. Keep them coming, Terry.
Yeah, keep them coming. He's got good ones, too. Anthony D. Taylor injury? Question mark? That's it. Pretty simple question. And then, who's QB1 versus Wyoming?
Okay. Let's not get into what I don't want to do is I don't want to talk too much injuries on this podcast, okay? So let's kind of let's stick to the second part of this question. What was the second part of it?
Let's do that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we got who's QB1 versus Wyoming? Okay. But we can talk about Anthony D. Taylor because Coach did.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. He did. He did.
Remember,
sorry about that.
This is a Fran guy. Fran would never talk about injuries. He got in trouble at A&M for it. So he's
guys, I'm protecting us, man. I don't want people tuning into the podcast to get a competitive edge. But go ahead. Sorry, he did. You're absolutely right. He did. He did talk about it.
It was cramps for him when he came out of that game. Yeah. So he's healthy. Whether or not he's the starter is left to be seen because Coach was saying kind of running back by committee deal with Anthony D. Taylor and Twyford and Nelson and some of those other guys. So he'll be out there. He'll be playing. That's Coach said he'll definitely be playing. But as far as QB1, for me, I think I'm gonna. We already talked about it. But Jensen's
both
the guy.
agreeing that we think we should probably see Jensen first.
Yeah.
If I had to bet my money, I would think Jensen would probably be QB1.
Me too, and I think he deserves a shot to start. But Coach even said you're probably going to see both. I mean, he said those words. God bless Jake Spavital, not mincing words at all.
We love it, Coach Spav. Keep it coming, man. Keep it coming.
Do it. No, but I do think Jensen will get the start. He'll be under center against Wyoming. How are you feeling about that Wyoming game? In the pick'em, and I picked the Bobcats, you picked the Cowboys. You're more the realist.
Hey, Keff put me on the spot, guys. You see that?
I did. He
just put me on blast in front of the whole. For now, it's cool. It's all good. I love it. I love it, guys. This is the thing, okay? I'm trying so hard to not pick with my heart and to pick with my brain because my heart is saying, I mean, come on, the Bobcats, we beat Wyoming last time they came here. We're going to get us a great win. We're going to start this thing off right, and this is going to be a good year. And then, my brain is saying we really don't have a quarterback yet. We haven't seen. We don't even know who our quarterback is going into this game. It looks like both guys are gonna play against the Wyoming game, and anytime you go into games, especially game 2, and you really don't know who your quarterback is yet, it's not a good sign. So mixed in the fact that Wyoming played a great game against Missouri. I watched that game, and I saw a very dominant Wyoming team, especially up front. Those guys are very, very physical. Knowing and playing against Wyoming over the years, one thing I always know that those Cowboys are going to be is physical and very efficient. They're a very disciplined football team. They have Craig Boyle that came over from North Dakota State. He has multiple Division II national championships, so it's not going to be an easy matchup. It's not the same Wyoming team that I know a lot of the Bobcats are kind of expecting us to, win like we did the last time they came to San Marcos. It's a very improved and experienced football team. So I think that if we do beat this team, it's going to be a huge win for this Spav era.
See, and that's a real logical, well thought out answer, unlike mine, where I'm like, they're going to have that hangover win. It's at Bobcat Stadium. It's going to be hot for Wyoming. I'm kind of using a lot of like extenuating circumstances because maybe I am voting with my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
But dang it, that's what I want to see. I really do. I really think that Wyoming can come in here and all those extenuating circumstances will mess them up. The heat, they're used to higher elevation. There's a lot in there that I think the Bobcats can take advantage of. And if you start Gresh, he obviously had 2 picks, but he's not a turnover machine. Mm-hmm. He corrected some of those issues in the second half. So I feel like if he goes in there and he's steady with it, defense does their thing. They don't let Wyoming control time of possession because that's what they want to do. They're a pretty running team.
Right.
They'd like to do that RPO and that quarterback. And
that's one of the things that I like. I like our matchup against that Wyoming on offense, just because they like to run the ball. Wyoming likes to run the ball, and we have a good run defense. From what I've seen, we have a good run defense. So it looks like, in far as our defense versus their offense, it's going to be a great matchup. Now I'm wanting to see what we're going to be able to do on offense because everyone knows to win football games, you got to score points. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, but I really do. I think that we'll see a different offense this week. That defense is good. They like to get turnovers for Wyoming, but we'll see a different offense this week than we did last time. That's it for all our questions. Thanks for submitting those at #AskFifthQuarter, #AskFifthQuarter. If you want to submit questions, just throw it there and we'll look up that hashtag and find them. Up next, we got a great interview with Coach Jake Spavital. All right, here we have our very first guest here on the Fifth Quarter podcast, and it's a big one. Jake Spavital, head coach of the Texas State Bobcats, is joining us here. Coach, how you feeling today? It's a little warm.
Feeling good, yeah, a little warm, but that building is actually pretty cold, so it actually feels good to be outside. And I guess it's an honor to be one of your first guests on your Fifth Quarter podcast. So I'm kind of fired up to do this with you.
Hey, you are the first. This is episode 3, and you are. We'll get more guests going on, but we're starting off with a bang here for sure.
The bar has been set pretty high.
Just let me know the next guest, all right? And I'll make the judgment from there.
Right? Oh, I'm sure they won't be bigger than you, I promise. Well, you never know. We'll see. Right off the bat, we got to talk about that A&M game. We just got done out of the press conference talking about it, and we were talking a lot about quarterbacks and their confidence level and everything. You went into it a little bit, but what happened with those turnovers in that game?
I thought the quarterbacks came out and they were a little nervous. It was a pretty big venue to be a part of, and I thought you can't really point the finger on a lot of things, but if you kind of summed it all up, I thought there was some miscommunication with the receiver play, especially on Vitt's first one. The second and the third one, which would be Vitt's second interception and Gresh's third interception, we're kind of guessing that this was going to be the correct coverage and that was going to be the route that was open, and not really going through your progressions and kind of just jumping the gun a little bit and got picked there. And then the fourth pick was a timing issue with the quarterback where he held on the ball too long and tried to throw a receiver that was about 60 yards down the field, which, there's not very many quarterbacks in the game that got arm strength like that. So, all of these are fixable things, which is a positive thing where, as a coach, you don't want to see us replicate those moving forward. So we got back to work on Friday. We coached them up, and hopefully we don't see those issues again.
How do you fix those issues? You say they're fixable situations. What do you do? What do you get in there and tinker a little bit?
Yeah, the first and the fourth pick, the fourth one is the timing issue. You got to get the ball out of your hand quicker. You got to understand that the game it has to be sped up, especially versus good opponents, and you got to be able to expose them. And if you can't throw it that far, you got to get on to your next progressions. The first one was communication. You got to make sure that we're communicating clearly across the board and everybody's on the same page. Everybody's running the right routes and trusting the play call. And that's something that is very simple, and the kids see it and they take ownership in it. The thing I like about this group, they're not pointing the finger at anybody. Even the offensive linemen they're kind of chiming in, going, we got to protect a little bit better and make it a cleaner pocket for these quarterbacks. So I do like that, where it's not a finger pointing culture, where they are taking ownership in the whole thing, and they all know that the interception is not just one person; it's really every single person that's affiliated with the play.
So that's good. I mean, right off the bat, they don't get down on themselves on these bad plays. So I think that speaks a lot to the character of the team. You know, defensively, it looks strong. There were some times you had your back against the wall at the goal line. They got out of that situation. You know, they eventually scored, but they stopped them twice there. Mm-hmm. Were you proud of some of that you saw from the defense?
I was. I thought they were pretty stout. You know, you talk about the 2 turnovers in the red zone. That game could have got out of hand pretty quickly if they scored on those. Especially, it had probably been 35-0 at the end of the first half, but we got that fumble that Frankie got, which I love seeing that. Belo ended up getting that interception, which was good to see. We can talk about his return skills later on how awful I think that is, but I thought that those kids played extremely hard. They're bought into what we're doing. You know, at one point, you know, you could look at them in the eyes and you could see how confident they were, that they believed that they're going to go out there and compete versus A&M. They're going to get the ball back for the offense. So very pleased with the effort and the energy and the confidence of the defensive side right now.
Yeah, I was very pleased with how the defense came out and played, especially the front box. I mean, you look at the defense and those guys were just all over the field, you know. But going back to what we were talking about earlier, we talked a little bit about the quarterbacks. Coach, what's some positives coming out of that room? You know, coming out of that game, this is their first game. Obviously, they're playing a good Texas A&M team. Everybody talks about the turnovers and, you know, the interceptions. So what are some positives coming out from those 2 guys leading in the game too?
Yeah, that is a good point too. You know, when you are the quarterback, you get the highs and the lows of it all, right. You know, and the criticism is going to fall really on your shoulders when you don't perform the way that we want to perform. But a lot of positives out of that, like I'm saying, where at some moments that last drive, you know, you see them moving the ball, you see them playing efficient football, getting it in play, making completions, and we actually ran the ball okay on some of that last drive, which that's what you want to see. And right. As a coach, you know, they struggled tremendously in that first half, especially running the football and where we were at. And we get to the second half, and the kids just started having some energy. They started making plays. Right. Hutch White was making a lot of good plays out there, but that also builds the confidence of the quarterback. So, again, there's a lot of good things that you can get out of it, because first and foremost, they played with great effort and they didn't back down. They didn't quit, and we can fix the rest. And that goes back to just playing football and getting as many reps as possible.
Right. Now, I talked to Keff about this before we started. Now, a big positive that I feel like I can see out of that first game was we have a very disciplined football team. I mean, we didn't have many penalties in the first game.
I think it was one. Was it how many?
We had 3. We had 3 penalties, which and that was normally that first game, that is a huge concern, because you watch a lot of college football over the weekend. There's a lot of teams where you know, obviously we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, but you sit there and you look at like other teams and the struggling and the penalties that they had, where we know that we're playing hard, we're playing with effort, and we're playing discipline, and you can build off the rest of that. You know, we had 3 penalties that come to the top of my head. We had a pass interference, which was questionable to me. You had a false start in the back of the end zone and delay a game on a punt play. So very fixable things, but, you know, relatively that's a clean game, and that shows the discipline of these kids, and, you know, that they're paying attention to the little things, because teams can ultimately lose when they have a lot of penalties and they aren't disciplined, like you're saying.
Absolutely. Now, going a little bit to the special teams. You know, we talk a little bit about the kicking game. Something that I noticed is we were kind of struggling punting the football, you know, kind of changing field positions at the punter position. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we played Seamus O'Kelly, who's a true freshman who comes from Australia. He's got a unique style. It's a lot of roll punt stuff that's going to help with the protection of what we do. But our plan, they have an explosive punt returner, so our plan was not to kick it to him.
Gotcha.
So we were trying to place it in certain areas. You know, there was one where he line drived it, you know, and kicked it a little bit farther than we would like, and they could have had a good return, but we got the returner down. But, you know, that was kind of a strategic thing where we were trying to roll and keep it out of the hands of the returner, which we're probably going to see that again this week, because Wyoming's got a pretty solid returner as well. So I really enjoyed how the freshman punter handled it. You know, I've said it before. That's his third collegiate game third football game in general he's ever been to. Wow. You know, his brother's the kicker at James Madison, so he went to 2 James Madison games, and then the third game he's ever been to, he played in at Kyle Field. So pretty good. We still obviously got some work with that with him, and he actually had a really good practice today. But he's a kid that you're going to see continue to get better throughout the course of the year and throughout his career.
The name Seamus O'Kelly, is he Irish? Is there Irish? And we know he's Australian.
He's as Australian as they get when you talk with him, but he's starting to teach me the Australian lingo and everything, which I think is fascinating to me. I did do one game in Australia when I was at Cal Berkeley. We did the week 0 game versus Hawaii in Sydney, Australia, and so I claim that I'm a part of his culture and everything now, which is just pretty fun. I really enjoy the kid. Just from being really here in the States for like a month, it's pretty cool to see the transformation he's already had with his team.
What's some of the lingo he's taught you?
Sheila is the one that talking about that. He's I'd say you're kicking it like a girl. So like I always say
kicking it like a Sheila.
Sheila.
That's pretty funny.
Now moving a little bit on to Wyoming. Now, Coach, I was before I came to Texas State, I went to Colorado State. I was a transfer. So we used to go head to head with Wyoming. One thing that I took out of that Wyoming programs over the years is they have a very physical football team, very disciplined and very physical. So I'm seeing the same things. I watched the Missouri game. They're very physical up front, and they're very efficient in what they do. So talk a little bit about the Wyoming team.
Yeah, you're spot on with what they are. They're a very physical. They're scrappy is the word I've been using with the team, but we've got to match their intensity. They play hard. They're very simple with their schemes because they just believe that they can play hard and be disruptive enough, and eventually you guys are going to screw it up is the way they look at it. And but the thing that they pride themselves on is the physicality of the game, and they are going to try to run the ball, establish the run. I'm sitting there looking at a third down cut up of this quarterback who's been in 4 games, and I think it was around like 65 or some odd plays of that they've had on third down, and he threw it 4 times on third down. So it shows you that they think they're physical and they're just going to run straight down the hill at you, and it's going to be some smash mouth football. So that's kind of what we've been preaching to these kids, is that we've got to match the intensity and we've got to bring the physicality if we want to have success in this game.
Impressive opponent they played too. Are you kind of hoping for a hangover from these guys after a big win? They're celebrating all week.
You always hope for the hangover, right? Quality win, and you talk, you listen to the press conferences, and I think they expected that to happen. I think they've got some confidence. They've got kind of an edge to them as a program where they believe that they expect to beat those type opponents. So we know that we've got a tough challenge ahead, and I think it couldn't be more fitting for us to play them in our home opener here on Weicker Field.
Has the extra 2 days been a benefit? The game was on Thursday. You kind of got it Saturday. I hope you got to watch a lot of football on Saturday. I did watch a lot of football. I got up here early, which was good because you put the game to rest Friday. You got all the corrections out of the way. You got A&M done with, and then you got in. You watched a little bit on Friday of Wyoming, and then I watched Wyoming all morning, and then went and watched some football and watched the game at night, obviously, and we could move ahead on our Sunday practice instead of worrying about the previous game and the previous opponent. Man, we went straight ahead on Wyoming, so it was good for recovery. Those kids got a few more days off to recover from the A&M game, and it was great for coaching staff to get a couple more days ahead and actually put the emphasis on a Sunday practice towards Wyoming. We talked a little bit about Brian London's return skills. And after the game, I asked you, I was just like, you're going to help him with the juke move. But I re-looked at it, and Savion Patton kind of missed a block.
I'm with you on that. He made that clear. I say we're not a finger-pointing culture, but he's pointing the finger at Savion the entire time.
That's my job.
It was a remarkable play by him. If you watch, and you guys have seen it, he had his eyes were in the right spot, and he was playing Kellen Mond the whole time. Kellen didn't put enough air on the ball, and he one-handed caught it and then tried to hit it to the sideline. We had like 5 bodies there, and they let one guy get through it, so it could have been a big return. But as an offensive guy, you have to look at the return and the open field, like the quality of make you miss, and I don't think Belo's got that right now.
He's not a make you miss type of guy. All he needs is a sack now. That was his first pick, just needs a sack. So if you could tell your brother to throw in a blitz package for him, that'd be nice. We'd appreciate it.
I bet you that's going to come. I think that kid is playing at a high level right now. I love his leadership ability. The thing that I was telling them for the A&M game that Belo's had 341 career tackles before the A&M game. The leading tackler for A&M had 40 career tackles. And it was our whole deal of, hey, we can play with anybody. We've played a lot more football than a lot of opponents that we played, and I think he really takes that to heart.
Absolutely. I know you're kind of pressed for time, so I got one more good one for you. We're here. We got the stadium behind us. Thank you for letting us use this beautiful backdrop. Saved us money on a green screen. But how important is it for the fans to fill these stands? How bad does this team need people here? Because Hutch White said it makes a big difference when the stands are full.
It does. We want to try to create a home field advantage here. And you talk about going into A&M and the 12th man, and that definitely caused some issues with us, from nerves, from just communication and all that, where we want to be a rowdy environment where we can be as distracting as possible, because at the end of the day, that's going to help us out. So it's very important, imperative for us to get as many people in these stands as possible, and then support the Bobcats, because I know these kids are putting a ton of work into it, and they want to have results that this whole university is going to be proud of. And if we can get them there and get the support from our fan base, and then put the results out there that we want, I think it's just going to turn this place around.
And one thing you've done, you brought up today at the press conference, is you changed the student section to behind their bench. Talk about what made you go into that choice.
Love that, by the way. Love that. It's tough playing when you have those students right behind you. It makes a difference.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's from my time calling plays for the past 6-7 years. The teams that put their student section right behind the bench was the most annoying thing. Where I've been a part of games where there was nobody in the stands except like 5 students, and they just made it annoying, and just you're aggravated the entire time. And we had the Bobcats are proud. I guess new student orientation out here, and that's what we told them. We're going to put the student section right behind the visiting bench.
Got the loud crowd right behind the
as rowdy and as distracting and as annoying as possible, and truly make this a home field advantage for us.
Gotcha. And Coach, last question: somebody that's looking into this Texas State football team for the first time, what would you say really defines this team? What is the definition of this team right now that you have? How can you describe the team for a first-time viewer?
I think they are a very close group of kids. That's the word that I kind of use a lot. If you think about it, these kids have been through so much together. They're a very experienced football team.
Yeah.
I sat there today and I said, raise your hand if you played in the 2017 game versus Wyoming and Laramie, and damn near half of the crowd raised their hand. Yeah. And you just see how close they are. They've been through a lot, and they're resilient in what they do. They show back up the next day, win, lose, or draw, and they're going to give great effort the entire time, and that's something that we can build with, and that's why our coaching staff comes to work every single day, because we want this to be a very memorable season for all these guys, because they're a very close group of them.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you, Coach Spavital, for being here, our very first ever guest. Next guest has really got to bring it, because he brought the juice this time.
He did.
But, let's just end it like that then.
Right, we'll end it like that. Thanks, Coach Spavital. Appreciate you being
Coach.
here.
I appreciate it. Look forward to being on soon.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, that'll do it for episode 3 of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Thanks for joining us here, and thanks for SHN Sports for producing this and hooking us up. Carl Schoening back there, always great producer. If you ever want to do a podcast like this, Broadcast in a Box, they'll help you out. They'll bring out all the equipment and get you going. So follow them on Twitter at SHN Sports. And if you want to follow us on Twitter too, we are the Fifth Quarter Podcast at Fifth Quarter Pod. I don't think it's pod. I keep saying pod at the end of it, but there's no pod. Don't worry about that. Just search it. And then we're on Instagram too, iTunes. Subscribe to SHN Sports YouTube page so you can get on top of it as soon as it comes out. And thanks again for having us. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Let's get it.